How's it going, everyone? Monday morning. So I've been in a little while now, and I've been stripping some bits of the inside of the camper. I took the wall and stuff off and found out what's behind. So I'm now going to spin it around and show you. So let's get started with the week, and let's hope you have a good week. My name's Carl. This is Waterside Workshop. Let's go. So I had to obviously take all my fishing gear and stuff out. These are the boards that I took off. The sideboard, and then this is some sort of skirting board. Not the best, but not terrible. And then this is what I found inside here. So basically inside that lot is a flappy piece of foam that's just held on with some tape. And that was probably just knocking around when I was driving along. Thought I had a couple of noises I couldn't get rid of. So I now know what that is. And then all the bottom is all stuffed with foam as well. So without doing any research, I don't know if this is good stuff to have in there or not, but where this one is, it's going to be, that's going to be a window, so that won't be the case. So we'll take this big lump out and put it over with this other stuff. In trouble in the workshop's this size, I'm starting to get a bit jammed out. Sure, gonna have to try and do some rearranging, but this one can come off as well. Just get in there for now. What I'm trying to get at is on the other side. If you saw last week, so I've got a repair that was coming right through, so I want to see behind all this lot and see where that repair is. Ooh, I can see some rust I don't want to see as well, but it's also showing me where it's been leaking, so in some ways that's good. I've been getting a wet seatbelt, so I now know why. So it's been coming through these. Ooh, this stuff's going to make a mess, which I don't really want. We're not looking terrible in there. There's a few little bubbles, but nothing crazy, nothing won't sort out. So I'm obviously going to have to put all this back in again once I've done the welding work, but I ain't going to leave it in there while I weld, because you can see that catching fire and not looking, it won't be good. Basically. Plus, I need to see what's in there now and see what anyone else has covered up. And some people just do what they have to do, don't they? Right, so I won't keep you on all the time. Watch me pull all this out. I'll strip this whole panel out, and then I'll come back and we'll see what we got in there, shall we? Okay, so it's took a little while, stripped it all out. And you might be able to see, we've got a little bit of rust in there. And by no means is it crusty or starting to go through or anything, but while I'm in there, it'd be nice to take care of it, obviously. The hole we were looking for was right in there. Look. Obviously on the outside, what we were doing last week was hid right in that panel. What a pain. I was hoping I could put a plate on the inside and the outside, but to do that I'd have to cut this out, and I don't really want to be cutting that structure out, to be honest. I've already got to cut this structure out up the top here. So I don't really want to be cutting any more out, do we? So got a massive pile of all the stuff that come out of them panels. I don't know if that's worth reusing or just getting some more. Is that the best stuff I can put in there, and is there better stuff I can stuff it with as well? Let me know in the comments below if you know anything better. Well, that's sort of where we are at the moment. I'm now going to hoover this all up, and that's where I am with that one today. That's going to be what I can do on this one today, because I've got some other jobs to do, which you'll see in a minute. So this is what we got in there. Got a few flaky bits, but most of it is just cavity waxed and quite tidy, to be fair. Remember, it's a van that's done 300,000 miles and counting. There's nothing there. I can soon get that rust off with one of my little tools, and then we'll treat it, and that shouldn't spread. So next thing today is the VXR. Quite a nice example. Plenty of mods, lots of noise. Factory upgraded headlights that turn when you turn. Arden blue. And Recaros in leather, which is quite rare on these, I would say. Oh, these cars are quite rare anyway now, aren't they? As far as I know, there's around 90 left. Full stop. So it's not many. Got some parts in here, got some poly bushes and stuff for doing some engine mounts. Got some bottom ball joints for obviously doing bottom ball joints. Got them to get new pinch bolts to the bottom of the ball joints as well. And that's what we're going to be doing. This is a silencer in here. This has got to go in the middle of the exhaust system, but we won't be doing that today because we're waiting for a sports cat as well. But yeah, nice car. Not to say, not many about now. So that's the poly bushes in. Not too bad of a job. Once I wiggled them about a bit, they went in nicely. The hardest part was getting the old bush out of the mountain, basically. That's the locker. If you ain't got a gun, just use a wheel brace or whatever you got. So get aside, get your wheel off. Came off nice and easy, which is nice. Put that out of the way. Can't believe how bad that's moving. Wow. Right. Let's sort this craziness out. First of all, we're going to turn the wheels so we can see some bolts. Just bring it in and show you what we're actually doing before I grab them. We're doing this bottom ball joint here. That's the movement. Look at the state of that. It don't get much worse than that. So 16 on both sides. We'll stick a ring spanner on the back. We'll stick a 16 socket on the front. We should better just blast it, depending on what's been done. Trouble is, someone's really bodged this up, and then they're making it a pain for me to get it off. We put the wrong nut on the bottom, and I'm struggling to get something on it properly. There's a 16, but that did go that time. I was going to say, they normally go, but That one was just being a pig. And now it's just going to fall out. You watch. Yep, did as well. State of that. It's all cross-threaded. It's all everything. It's a right mess. So I recommend when you do these yourself, I'll show you what I've got in the boot here. Got the whole kit. I've got the new joint and everything, but I've also got a new bolt, washer, pinch bolt for the bottom, because I know a lot of people fudge them up like that one and then you end up in trouble. Got all the nuts and bolts and stuff to come with it. New ball joint, but we ain't anywhere near that far yet. We've got the bolts out. We know the rubber on the ball joint don't matter because that's going to get pulled off anyway because the ball joint's coming off. So the next thing to do is to get in there. I've zoomed you in so you can see what's going on. I've got a ball joint splitter, which you can buy from any sort of motor factors or whatever. This one's a Drapier one, does the job. Put it between the bottom arm and the hub. Tap it gently to get it going. And give it a few decent whacks. If it don't come out, step on it. No. You're basically just trying to separate the two panels. Don't normally take too much. We're nearly there. And there we go. Woohoo! That ball joint is absolutely had it. Never ever seen one that bad before. That's literally just flopping around like there's nothing there. Crazy. So these are riveted on, so that's going to be a cut off jobby, which is a bit of a pain, but not too bad if you know what I mean. I'm going to switch these lights over because this one's going low. I'll keep you lit up under there. So what I'm going to have to do now is make some room. Move everything out of the way, because we've got to get down here next and grind off where the ball joint's connected. Now, before anybody starts shouting, I am going to put an axle stand under. I was just getting to that point. Just in case they come down, but it's not very likely. And we don't want to find out though, do we? Then we get under with the grinder and we start cutting at them bottom bits. Now that's just one stud I've done then. I've got to do the middle one, I've got to do the other side. Now I won't make you watch me do that, but I'll get them done. And then I'll bring you back in underneath here and show you what I've done. And hopefully we'll be able to knock them through and start to wiggle a ball joint out. But they can be a pain. Sometimes you have to do all sorts of other stuff. So as you can see, I whacked it on fast forward. I think we're on ×5, something like that, speed wise. And I'm just grinding around all the rivets. Done the first one, now on the middle one, got to do the far one. Then I'm probably going to have to go along the top and do all three as well, because it's just been a right pain, this one. It's really stuck in there. I'm hammering it, I'm hitting it with chisels, I'm doing all sorts of stuff, and that's not moving yet, but we'll get it moving, don't you worry. Someone with just a pain. But let's keep cutting and grinding. So it's pretty much doing its normal, being a bit of a pain, they always are. I'm going to try and get a block of wood between the bottom arm and the shelf just to get a space. If I can. I can normally tap one of these in. What that does, I'll give you some access to this lot without having this in the way. And what you're trying to do now is get them pins to start moving. I've ground them out from underneath. You want them to come through now, it's the trouble. I've had some that took an hour, and I've had others that took 3 hours, depends how much of a pain they want to be and how long they've been there. Whew, this is how much of a pain they can be. You just have to keep cutting and hitting. Obviously being careful of your arm, you don't want to be grinding out too much of your arm. But they're pretty tough and pretty strong. So you should be okay. What I might do is put a cutting disc on and just cut the heads of the other two off. See if that goes better. So this one's particularly being a pain. So what I've done is I've put a strap around it, pulled everything forward like that, and strapped it up underneath there on the engine mount. And now I can get to this one here. I've already ground out the middle one. You can see what we're trying to do. We're trying to basically get them so they've got no heads on them. And that releases obviously the ball joint. But it's a lot easier said than done sometimes. And this one's just being one of them. Your one might just grind off and come off lovely. I've had others that are ground down and been really good and no problem. And I've had others like this that are real pain and take forever to get out. Now I can't find one of my big hefty chisels, so I'm going to have to use this. No, but do the job. slowly getting between it, but it's being a pain. Yeah, it's not the nicest. So you're going to want to watch me hammering away doing that all the time, but that's basically how you do it. And I'll keep going until I start to get them moving, and I'll show you. So about another 15 minutes later of grinding and knocking, we're out. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to free up the holes like that, and you end up with one of these all knocked down. That's what we were doing. We were cutting them studs off, but they go through top and bottom and through the arm. So they're not nice, but it's definitely achievable. Like I say, these are so thick it doesn't matter if you grind into it a little bit. It's hardly even touching it, to be honest. That's going to make no difference to that whatsoever. Right, so let's get the new joint prepped and get that on, shall we? New ball joint. We've got our nuts and bolts. Get it all undone and ready. What am I doing? They're going like that. Now they can go for it. Not really with it at the moment. I've been pretty ill for about a week. I was stuck in bed for a while. I'm just trying to recover a little bit, to be honest. But people still need their cars to do stuff, so I'm trying to keep going. Nuts go on the bottom, obviously. They've already got a lock thread inside them, so they lock themselves up. So you don't need to put nothing like that on. Make sure the ones that you've bought have got a lock thread inside them. If they haven't, then you can buy some lock thread in little tubes. Definitely worth doing, because you don't want one of these coming loose when you basically do that and do these up. And then we're going to be lining up into here. And then we want our other new one, which is that one. And that will go through, and what that does, that sits down the side of there. So I just looked back on the footage and didn't realise the camera had moved. So basically, I'll just quickly run you through that again, because you couldn't see what I was doing. Nuts and bolts through the top. No, bolts through the top, and then a washer and nuts on the bottom. Make sure the joint goes on the bottom of here. And then just do them up. We're then going to sort this bit out. It's going to go up through there. We're going to put this through so it slides down the side of it like that, so it can't be pulled out. And that's how you lock that up. So I'll get them tightened up, and then we'll do the next bit. Hopefully you saw that time. Okay, so for one of the horrible bits, when you've got to cut a hole on the side of your van, it's not very nice. You've got to know what's behind the other side, so you don't catch fire or anything, or start getting anywhere near insulation and foam and etc, etc. And you also got to try not to warp the panel and make it all wobbly. But here we go. Don't want to do it, but it's got to be done. It's not the straightest, but that doesn't matter as long as it's well away from all the rust, which it is. I've actually gone extra on purpose. Let's see if we can get hold of it now and pull it out. If there's a little edge on it or something we can pull it with. Bit of paint, bit of metal. Just got to get hold of it. moving. Let's see why it's still connected actually. I don't think it's still connected up there. There we go. As you can see, it was right on a structural post, which in some ways is good for me to, when I'm putting it back in, because when I sand all this and I'm trying to get this all straight again, that give me a bit of structure to push against. Obviously that was glued to that and that isn't anymore. So we'll have to re-glue that from both sides from the back once it's all back in. I'm wondering whether to I was going to grind that back, but I don't really want it really, because I don't really want bare metal there, do I? Got a tiny bit there, which I'll flick in with some primer. Didn't go too terrible. It's quite thick metal actually. It's a lot thicker than when I'm doing the cars. There you can see, but that's what we were dealing with, this whole rusty patch. And as you can see, it comes in from the back as well. And that would have come back within, well, that would have been back next winter, put it that way, so it's got to be done right. Otherwise you just end up with rubbish. So we're going to put the other disc on, so we can clean up around the edges. This one's a 60 grit. When you're grinding down or sanding down like you see me doing there, you need to find 100% shiny, pure metal. If you don't, if you find bits with little pits and stuff in the middle, that needs cutting out, that'll come back. You have to go right to the source and get it out, or that will come back. That one had a couple of pits in the middle of it, I just got rid of them. And that looks like they're going to be okay. There's a couple more on this one. Might as well do it while it's on the disc. believe it or not, I'm actually going to use, I've actually got the plate and I'll put it up against the bulkhead, draw around it, or scratch around it with a screwdriver. I'm going to use a good chunk of the bulkhead because it's really good quality metal. It's not cheapy stuff, it's not covered in oils and all sorts of stuff. It's just nice quality thick metal with a bit of paint on it, which I can grind off or take off with a wheel on it while. And that'll do us nicely. Exactly what we want, nice and rigid. Should go in there really well. Should be a nice panel. It's actually quite a bit thicker than the original by the feel of it. It's a bit warm at the moment, but I can bend and flex that one quite nicely, whereas this one don't flex that well. It's actually a bit thicker, which is nice. Stop that panel from bowing and that when we're trying to sand it and weld it and stuff. So all tacked in. Just got a welder on the edges now. So I think you get the idea. I don't think you're going to want to sit there watching me welding. So I'll get on with that. And we'll hopefully start to grind it back in a little while. I don't want it to get too hot because obviously I don't want it to warp. It's going to a little bit. There's nothing you can do about it, but let's see what we can get to. Oh, so I've got a patch in there. It's been a while. It took a bit of welding, grinding, welding and grinding, welding and grinding. But we're in. We have metal in there. The line is sort of there. If you look, it's blended in fairly well. We've got a bit of a ripple here where I've turned, where I've come down here, pushed this out, stretched the metal a bit, and I've pulled it in up the top here a little bit. So hopefully I can deal with them. I've got to try and shrink the metal a bit because it's actually bulged out here a little bit, which is not very good. But otherwise, we don't have a big hole anymore, and we should be able to deal with the rest. So that leaves us with still a slightly warped panel. There's a couple of tiny bits on the wall that I'm just going to tack in. There's a little bit there. There's a couple of tiny bits down here. So I'm going to sort them out and regrind them in. I could go a bit further if I want to do and actually blend that completely away. What I'm trying to do is get this whole area back into shape, because sort of here that's fine and here that's fine, but up the top that dipped, down here it rippled, especially right there, and I've just got to get that all back into some sort of shape that's not going to stand out. So today we're working on a Rover 75. It's a turbo diesel, but they're all the same, the arms that I'm doing. This one's an estate, and we're going to put a new bottom wishbone in. Actually, I think we'll open it up and have a look at it, shall we? Obviously I know what they look like because I've done them before, but I want to show everyone else. So basically, it's your bottom arm. Ugh. See both sides there? It's sitting there like that basically. Or obviously on the other side, depending on how you're looking at it. And this is your main bit that goes into the centre, and then your ball joint. Oh, that one's tight. That's how they should be. Just side to side like that. Now I have actually got a tiny bit of play on side to side, but I think that's just wheelbarrow related. Don't know if you can hear that. That's the bottom ball joint moving. It's a bit of roof. Just checking my springs and stuff while I'm in there, because you might as well look at everything. Not that you can get in there very well anyway, but all the wheels on, so hear that? Pretty bad. Definitely needs done. Right, so my name's Carl, this is Waterside Workshop. Let's get started. I just put my nuts on the jack so they don't go missing. That's tight. Ooh, that took a bit of stick, didn't it? Let me see me gun do that. Wheel come off nice and easy. Tyres are all good. I always check my tyres if I'm doing something like that. Right. Yep, 100% bottom arm. It's moving quite badly down there on the ball joint. Just looking at me plastic cover in here. So I seem to have lost the bit that goes up here to where the headlight goes, and down here it's folded under by the looks of things. I'm going to need a new liner by the looks of things. That'll go on the list of things to buy. That's what I'm on about. See, when you go under and you don't know what's going on a lot of the time, just checking me drop links and stuff like that, and they're all good. I did wonder if my shocks were a bit weak, but I can't seem to move them with my legs. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to do this arm, aren't we? So I'll grab a light so you lot can see a lot more. one under there like that. These lights are really good. They run on the Milwaukee batteries, but they just put the, you plug the light onto them. You can just see exactly what you're doing, which is nice. And definitely nicer when I'm filming as well. I'm just going to grab another battery. You have to excuse my throat and stuff because I've just been ill for a couple of weeks. Right, so we're all lit up. Let's bring you over and show you what's what. So as you can see under here, jacks on the chassis rail as I said, but if not I can go there on the sill. I just didn't want really mark the sill or anything because as I say, this one's in really good nick. So what we're actually going to be removing is this arm here. Goes into that rubber there and doesn't actually bolt in there or anything, it just slides into there. Goes into that joint under here, this big bolt here, and then the ball joint is on the back of there. A few little hits like that, off comes it. So next thing we've got to do is we've got to go underneath, and as you can probably see I put a 22mm socket on there. I'm going to put a axle stand down there underneath the subframe. And as you can see, that one's out. Okay, so what I do is this end of the arm, that's the upside down bit, that's the bit that goes through this rubber here. What I do is I get one of these and I chop the end off, and then what that does is that gives me access up into here, and that's where them two horrible bolts are. So you can't do any better than cutting that arm off there, undo them two 18mm that are there, one from this side at a diagonal angle, one from around the back with an 18 that way up like that, pointing down at an angle, and then you have to interlock another spanner into the back of it, and that's how you undo it. I can't move a thing. That one doing there. Got a track rod in there. Got some play in it, look at that. So we have another job. That's a pain. We'll get one of them ordered up straight away. Just check everything. Make sure that one's all done up and that's sitting in there nicely. Just pop them through the top there of the hub. Make sure your 22 is done up nice and tight. You can put an Allen key in the end of that if you need to, if that keeps spinning. Make sure your 18s are done up around the back there, and the bar thing is just sticking through. So I thought I'd give the van a good old wash, and I've started doing it, and that's literally changing colour. You watch as I do this. I wasn't going to show you, to be honest. I was just going to get on with it, but I'm quite impressed, to be honest. Unbelievable, it's actually pure white under there, whereas the rest of the van's not. I'll show you what we're doing in a minute once I get this off so it don't dry in too much. just unbelievable. I can't believe the colour difference. I washed it normally and that didn't do anything. And I thought, oh, okay. So I've got my mixture out. What I use for doing this sort of thing. And I mean, look. It's literally stripping it right back. Which is crazy. It's just going pure white from a horrible dark browny sort of sandy colour, really. Not what I was expecting, to be honest. I'm not complaining. Gives me a nicer band to work with. Plenty of stone chips and bits and pieces on this side, but nothing to worry about, if you know what I mean. Nothing I can't do. It's not rotten or nothing. Cool. Just going to spray the rest of this lot so it starts to soak in a bit. The colour difference is unbelievable. Exactly what we wanted. Whew. It's not even that hard to work either, to be honest. Let's just scrub it in with a brush and blast it off. Pretty crazy. I hope I'm showing up on camera how good it actually is. That really is changing colour. What I'm going to do is I've zoomed right in for you, so you can see a bit better. And you watch this. Nice thick bristle paintbrush, not a tubey. Look what it's doing. Unbelievable. I couldn't ask for any more, to be honest. I thought the van was actually an off-shade sort of creamy colour. That's clearly not, but I've never seen it this colour since I've had it. And before you're looking at the bottle, that's the odour kill bottle or whatever, so obviously not what's in there. I've just made a mix up. There's 2 or 3 things that I put in to do this sort of thing, but I won't recommend it or anything because obviously that's going to really dull the paint down, but I don't mind that because I'm going to be sanding it and getting it ready for paint, so we'll get at least prep at the moment anyway. We're still doing the other side at the moment, so we won't be doing much on this side at the moment. That's all good to get the van clean anyway. Whew. I'm literally shocked. So you can clearly see when you've missed a little bit, because that stands out a mile. I could probably buff a load of this and it'll look quite nice, but there's too many bits and pieces everywhere. magic on the back quarter. It looks creamy as anything now. And see that change. I'll show you the change. I'm going to keep showing you. That's what it looks like right now. I'm going to go and clean it all up, and we'll see what colour it comes up afterwards. Just scrubbed that like mad, and they're going to blast it off. Oh, it's pure white. Did actually do the backlight and stuff while I was doing it. And I've done one of the hinges just to see if I'll come up. Got a few stone chips and stuff on it. Not too bothered about this top panel there because that's going to get cut out and have a window put in it. So that's not going to be staying on the van. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed to be fair. It's cleaned up alright. There's a load of little black marks and stuff I could quite easily buff off to be honest, but not too worried right this minute. I'll worry about that when I get round to this side. I just thought I'd do this while I've got a decent day to do it, and I'm actually waiting for some primer to dry on a wheel trim that I'm doing for a different video on the Corsa C Elegance. I've been doing this one over here. I lost one of the trims on it. You'll see it on the video when you watch it. And I just bought this one. I had to re-prep it because it was all scuffed and out of shape and all sorts of stuff. But we're now back in primer. Going to get a couple of coats of primer on it. A few more coats of silver. And then some lacquer. And that can go back on the car. So I've got the van, so the back's facing me now, and I've just done one of the back doors. Let's see the difference. So you can clearly see what they'd be like if we got the old buffer on there and buffed them up. They'd actually come up really well, but it's not what we're doing at the moment. And there's actually a couple of little dents in the bottom half, so they need to go. There's a couple of rust spots in like the window bit, but the windows are going to be cut out and I'm going to have black windows in there, so they don't really matter too much. Right, I'm going to do the other side. And I can't believe how the van's literally changing colour. Okay, so I've turned the van round and we're on the side that we've been working on. And as you can see, I've took the driver's door trim off and I've took the arch one off as well. And underneath there, they're absolutely spotless. There's one little bit of some paint come off. And otherwise, that's pretty good. That's exactly what we want to see. There's a bit of pitting to the bottom of the door because one of the brakes was down to the metal when I first got it, and I had to drive it back like that, so it sort of got on the door a bit and that's burnt into the paint, but it don't really matter. because we're sanding it down and painting it anyway. But I want to check all these areas, make sure they're 100%. Obviously I'm going to take all of these little clips out and replace them with new ones, but for right this minute I just want to get it clean and see what rust we've got. When I put these back in, these clips, where these holes are, they rub on these holes as the van's vibrating, and that's what causes the bubbles. So when I put them back in, I'll be greasing them all up and then putting a wash over the top to seal them. Whew, that's going to clean up, as you can see. I've got the 2K primer protecting everything at the moment where I've ground down, so I've got no worries there. I just want to get all this grime off. This is why I didn't do it before I started, because that don't just come off. It's actually quite bad. You can see a few little patches where I've got to sort things out, but for a van that's on 314k, I don't think it's doing too bad. I mean, that door might be a brand new door, but I very much doubt it. So I'm just scrubbing everything just so I can literally see what I've got in there. I'm still going to sand and grind and do all sorts of stuff. But these are already white, so I'm guessing that's already had some paint. Unless they put them in from the factory and then paint over them, I don't know. It's not the sort of vehicle I work on that often and take these sort of parts off. So, well, I've done plenty of work on them, but normally it's just paint a wing, paint a panel, paint an arch. Not normally strip them down too much, unless the person's actually asked me to do so. I love the way the end of this brush is all puffed out because it's making it nicer to work with. When I actually do this, I'll be getting under there with a wire wheel and cutting that all back. See what's what. This is looking pretty good so far. You can probably hear how crispy this is and how rough that sound. Colour difference is insane. I've actually been up under all the arches and all behind all that lot off camera. Pretty chuffed with how the van's cleaning up. Literally like black to that. It just went from a creamy colour to a pure white colour, which is brilliant. But the better thing was, when I pulled all the rest of them trims and that off down that side, on the side we're working on at the moment, all under there is near enough mint. Couldn't really ask for much more, so not too much work to do around the little holes and where all the little clips push in along that side. But there is a few bits to do, so we will definitely be doing them. There's more on the edge of the arches really, and on the edge of where the bumper corners go around the van and stuff like that, than actually on them trim clips. Whereas I've seen people on YouTube where they've pulled them off and there's massive holes under there, so can't complain really. But obviously that's a 16 plate, so it's not going to be terrible. But I just thought with that mileage and that on it, that might have, it's already had a couple of lives, if that makes sense. But no, it's come out alright, pretty good, I can't complain. So we'll carry on with that, we'll keep doing the rest of that side, and I won't move around the van until I've done completely that side, inside and out, so I know that is all sealed up and nice in a decent 2-pack primer, which at the moment I'm using Pro XL because it's got anti-corrosion properties, and that's also waterproof. So I can wash the van, I can do like I'm doing now. I can do stuff in between while it's in primer, not have to worry, about stuff like that. So pretty good. Right. So I've got to carry on with a few more coats on this trim now for the old Corsa. So I'm going to get that done. I've got a ball joint to fit, so I'll probably get that done as well. Well, that'll probably be the end of my day. But let's get stuck in and see what else we can get done today. So that's what we got. And we could probably just tack these little bits in here and give it a skim. I don't think it needs cutting out yet. It's pretty solid still. Same down here, we need these little bits need tacking in. And we could probably grind that with a grinding disc or a cutting disc and get that one nice and solid and smooth again. Sorry about the shadows. It's very, very sunny. So I've been out here many hours now. As you can see, it's starting to get a bit dull, but I've welded in all that corner. The grinder that mostly flat, need to go a little bit more, and then that would just need a skim. I've welded in what I can down the bottom of this one as well, made it all solid again instead of flaky rusty bits. Same with this bit here, ground it right back, welded in the middle bits. Got it pretty good. Gone all the way along this seam, got every little teeny piece of rust out of it, even right into the little gaps and everything. Got a bit at the back here, looks like it's got a few pits and stuff in it, so I could probably weld into them and get that sorted, but it's still rock solid, and I can see there's all foam in that behind there, so I don't want to cause any hassle with that. So what I might do is do that from the other side when I take the other side apart. But we'll worry about that a bit later. I might attack that if I get a chance. I've done what I can with these arches without cutting the whole arch out, which I'm not going to do at the moment because I think it's filler. And then I've got to start dealing with this corner when I do. But I'm now about to mix up some primer. So I've got some 2K primer on the side and seal this all up because I don't want it getting damp. And what I'll do is I'll heat it up with the old heat gun, get it nice and warm, make sure there's no damp on it, and then whack a bit of primer on it. So as you see me doing this, what I'm basically doing is just sealing up for the night, because if it rain or if it get damp, all the bare metal will start to rust straight away. It literally takes like half an hour and that will start rusting again, which I definitely don't want. So hence why I'm just painting it on and covering up anything that I've prepared and ground down, and where I've got rid of rust, because obviously we don't want it to come back. I will go back to it again and sand it back and level it out, fill it up, etc., etc. And then once the whole side's all really nice and whatever, I'll then get the starter guns out and do a really nice job of spraying it up with some primer. This is just like temporary fixes in between, leaving it overnight and having to do other work and stuff like that. This just keeps it nice, basically. So I don't have to keep grinding all the rust out every time I do it, because obviously you make the metal thinner and thinner every time you do it, because you take the metal away as well. And yeah, basically we just do this to seal it all up. It's a proper 2K, it's actually Pro XL stuff, and it seals it up and protects. Definitely works doing it this way. I've been doing it since I've actually been building the van, and every time I come back to it, all I have to do is sand a bit of primer off, and underneath is still nice and fresh, no pitted rust coming through or nothing like that. It's really nice, so it's definitely working. So obviously if it's working, I'm going to keep doing it. Obviously on places, if you've got like a big lump of rust laying there, then that's not going to do a lot, because obviously the rust is still there. But over bare metal like I am where I am now, that should seal it up nicely and do a nice job. Obviously it takes a little while to do it this way, but in the long run it's obviously saving your van, you're saving the metal, you're saving yourself a hassle of grinding that rust every time you go anywhere near it. And if you want to say leave it for a couple of weeks, you can't do it, you've got too much work to do, or you can't get out there because it's pouring with rain or anything like that, this is the way to do it. A 1K primer or the cheaper stuff, cellulose and stuff like that, won't do the same job. You will need a 2K one if you want it to seal it up properly. If you put a cheap one on, that will literally just come straight through. To get the right ones, let me know in the comments if you want to know what I recommend and stuff like that, and I'll let you know. Obviously doing it DIY is a lot different to me doing it at the garage, so you have to let me know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and I'll advise you from there. No problem. So what I'm basically doing is just sealing it up for the night basically, because they're staying outside and I don't want it to get damp on the metal, because then that will start to rust again. So putting this 2K primer on will seal it up. It's like having a plastic layer over it. That'll seal it up quite nicely. So I've got some more to do inside the door and stuff, and bits where you can't see, so I'll get them done. And that's as far as I've had to go with it tonight, I think.